Hello everybody, this is our podcast Lepon. This is a team parade between the subjects Literature 2 and US History 2. I'm here in the studio with my co-hosts Patricio, Constanza, and Roberto. Today we're going to talk about an interesting topic. There is a relationship between the classical book To Kill a Mockingbird and the civil rights movement in the 1960s. You have heard about the book To Kill a Mockingbird, right?
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah, me too. In this book, we can see how black people were mistreated back then, and even though the book is fiction, it portrays a reality of that historic period of time.
If you haven't heard about this book, it follows the memories of Scout Finch, a girl from Macomb, Alabama. Her father, Atticus Finch, is a lawyer who defends a black man falsely accused of rape. It talks about prejudice, compassion, and the loss of innocence.
On this occasion, we'll take a deeper look into the things that happen in this book. But first, let's introduce the characters. Scout Finch, the daughter of Atticus and their protagonist. Jem is Atticus' son. Atticus is the lawyer in charge of defending Tom Robinson. Tom Robinson is the black man falsely accused of raping a white woman. Mayela is the woman allegedly raped. Bob is Mayela's father. And Nathan and Boo are the brothers that live in the Radley's house. Okay, now let's begin.
The book starts showing us the mystery in the Radley's house, where the Atticus children thought there was a monster, but there was only the brothers, Boo and Nathan.
After that, the book narrates how they try to enter the house but run scared because Nathan shoots thinking there was a robber.
And after that, Atticus received a phone call where he was offered to defend a black man, Tom Robinson, because he was falsely accused of raping Mayela. But then, Atticus accepted the offer, and he immediately, thought he was innocent at the trial because Mayela was punched in her face by a left-handed man, and Tom was injured at the moment on his left arm, so he couldn't have done that, but he was still pleaded guilty, and Atticus, knew that he was innocent.
God, that part makes me feel awful.
After that, Tom is jailed and tries to escape, but is killed by an officer.
But then, Bob, furious, tries to kill Atticus' children, but is stopped by Boo and ends up dead. He tries to kill Atticus' children because he defended Tom under court.
Yes, and then when Atticus finds out, he tried to investigate further, but Scout stopped him and tells him that it would be wrong because it would be like a sin to kill a mockingbird. Now that's a great book.
It sure is.
As a matter of fact, if you dig deeper into the historical background of the book To Kill a Mockingbird, you'll find the civil rights movement in the United States, where black people were mistreated, ungranted of rights and opportunities, just like Tom Robinson in the book.
The civil rights movement started in 1954, but it wasn't until 1960 that she published this masterpiece.
So she published the book in the middle of the civil rights movement?
Wow.
But when did the civil rights movement end?
It ended with the approval of the civil rights movement law in 1968.
I heard about a similar case in the 1950s about a boy named Emmett Till. He was accused of flirting with a white woman at a grocery store where he wasn't allowed in. And just like in the book, he was accused of something that he didn't do. And he was only 14, can you believe it? He wasn't only just accused of flirting with her, but also inappropriately gripping her. The owners of the store apparently were the woman who accused him and her husband, Carolyn and Roy.
I saw an article stating that Roy was the one to send the lynch to Emmett. His body was found in a pond in Mississippi. Unfortunately, he was dead.
That's so disgusting of them. It is said that his mother, Mommy Till, wanted to have an open casket funeral so that people could see what they had done to his son. It was also said that he was barely even recognizable because of how badly he was beaten in his face.
Yeah, I recall watching a video too about how he was only recognized with a ring on his finger that he would wear every day.
It's so horrifying how they could beat him up to a point where he's unrecognizable. Unfortunately, justice hasn't been served, but this helped galvanize the civil rights movements in the USA.
Everything was so messy back then, even the politics and the riots.
Yes, and if you think about it, there are some similarities in between the President John F. Kennedy and Atticus. They both wanted to fight against the racial inequality in the United States, and they both defended black communities.
Did you know that during the John F. Kennedy administration, he worked for a bipartisan support for the legislation and the civil rights movement, led by a black activist, Martin Luther King?
Wow, so both of them try to make a difference, fighting for justice.
Yeah, but it still was really messy time. I mean, like, imagine living with the space race, the expansion of communism, the Berlin Wall situation, McCarthyism, the Korean War, the Vietnamese War, and many other things aside from the civil rights movement. I mean, like, can you even imagine how it must have been back then? If the world became a mess only because of the pandemic, I cannot even imagine how it would have been.
Oh my god, there's a good reason everything was this way.
Yeah.
Even though this problem began a long time ago, it keeps affecting a wide variety of people, and it only keeps slowing down society.
Yeah, I agree. In my opinion, racism just creates a barrier for races in general, and it makes us as a society think that other races are inferior than others, and this creates a segregation and criminality, like what happened with George Floyd and his assassination by the police just because of his skin color.
You're right, this ideology just prolongs the problems.
Going back to the 1960s, there were so many cases of racism and injustices. Like, for example, colored people weren't allowed to use the same things that white folks could, like, for example, dishes, toilets, etc. And because they thought that black people could transmit that disease,
Like if they were illnesses for being black.
or worse.
Oh my goodness.
But nowadays, there are still people that are racist and do not accept the black community. And so people is trying to create movements like Black Lives Matter to stop this injustice in our society.
The movements from right now are a result from other movements, like the Civil Rights Movement. It was a strong and heavily influential movement for the rights of black people. It helped overcome suffering and discrimination. It brought people together for greater goods. But unfortunately, with the death of Martin Luther King, it had to come to an end, with everything that comes and goes.
It is known that the eventual demise of the civil rights movement goes little by little when the leader, Martin Luther King, was assassinated. Some members abandoned and some members joined to the Black Panther movement.
But thanks to the sacrifices that they did, cases like the ones we talked about have been more criticized and less common.
To Kill a Mockingbird, it's a really good book to reflect on because it uses figurative language to describe events and moral behavior, like the phrase, shoot all the blue jays if you can hit them. But remember, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. This phrase doesn't tell you not to kill a special kind of bird, but to not kill the innocent, because the mockingbird is interpreted as the innocent.
In our comparison to this book and Emmett Till's case, we wanted to make you realize that things like this happen all the time. They're real-life cases and they are unheard of. So maybe, while listening to this podcast, you'll help us diffuse cases like this that happen in your community.
It is important to sympathize and learn how the people were treated and all the things they suffer.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and we hope you liked it, and most of all, that it had a great impact on you.
We hope we'll see you in our next podcast. Goodbye.